I have another job for you.
Awesome. Am I working another birthday? The last one went so well.
Shadow Warrior 2 was released for consoles internationally in May of this year. However, it was reported that developers Devolver Digital would not be submitting the game to the Australian Classification Board on the expectation that it'd be immediately denied. However, just recently it silently appeared on the Xbox One and PS4 marketplaces. In terms of its potential refusal of classification, well, it's not hard to see why. Enemies falling in half, limbs flying through the air, heads rolling around on the ground, and many smaller enemies simply exploding completely. It doesn't appear anything's been removed for the Australian release. And that's not mentioning the cute little rabbits, which the game rewards you for killing with some pretty good loot, and in one mission actually actively makes you hunt. The gore is only one half the equation though. The use of profanity is next level, with practically every second word being some form of expletive.
Oh, how nice! For me? Fuck off! I hate it when they do that.
Both the gore and the language are bad for sure, but it seems it wasn't bad enough for a ban though due to the eventual release. In terms of gameplay, you'd think it would be shunted in favour for some cheap shock humour in the form of the gore and language use, and it's actually pretty good. It's by no means revolutionary and it's a bit of a mishmash of gameplay elements from other games, but it turns into a surprisingly enjoyable experience. The game is incredibly fast paced, your dash ability is your best friend and has basically zero cooldown, which led to me just dashing everywhere all the time, whether in combat or not, and the lack of fall damage removes all fear of clambering over buildings to escape your foes. Enemies, however, will ruthlessly charge you and are just as fast, and they hit hard enough that dashing constantly is essential for your survival. The areas you'll find yourself in are generally large enough to facilitate this sort of movement, with even the indoor areas large enough to allow you to create some distance between you and those chasing you. Although some of the smaller areas and sometimes even the larger ones have a tendency to fill up quickly with the sheer number of enemies thrown at you, which can get quite hectic, but not overwhelmingly so. The tools you use to dispense of these enemies range from your trusty samurai sword, a bow and arrow and a revolver, to much more intimidating weaponry like the grenade launcher and chainsaw. However, I often found myself falling back to the revolver for range and the shotgun for when things get a bit more in your face, which is often. Your collection of guns is supplemented by a range of magical abilities used for a bit of crowd control to make managing the mobs a bit easier when it all gets a bit much. These include a small knockback ability and the ability to hold a number of enemies in place via spikes that shoot up from the ground. You can also heal or turn invisible for a short time.
Very, very quiet. I'm hunting dickheads.
All these guns and powers are incredibly satisfying to use, with headshots and critical hits landing some serious punches, and the damage counters when you hit enemies make it all the more satisfying. And yes, I did say critical hits. This game throws in a menagerie of miscellaneous RPG elements like DPS min-maxing, elemental upgrades and resistances, and a fairly deep leveling system. Feels like a cross between Borderlands and Diablo, with a huge variety of gem upgrades for your weapons and your armor, for stat boosts or special powers like dual wielding, and randomized Diablo-style boss mobs with differing resistances, strengths and powers. And the loot, there is so much of it. While weapons you collect once, keep forever and upgrade from there on out, there are so many chests and collectibles scattered around the map, and enemies drop huge amounts of various ammos, gold and gems. While the combat is definitely a blast, the story, well, it's fine I guess. There's no deep emotional attachment to anyone around, and the dialogue was silly enough to keep it light-hearted without getting too invested. The dialogue is mostly just a constant stream of jokes you'd hear from a 12-year-old on Xbox Live, but in rare moments it is genuinely funny, and I did find myself laughing out loud on more than one occasion. Not much more to say on the story though, it's fun but forgettable. Graphically, however, this game is gorgeous. The environmental effects are simply awesome, with the rain effects, the lighting reflections and the leaves falling from trees, combined with some beautiful environments, make this game really shine. You'll also get thrown into quite the variety of environments, all with really cool designs, from mystical cave to serene forests and futuristic cities, all very vertically focused to add some depth to the locales. The sound design keeps up well enough, it's nothing mind-blowing but it's clean and clear, and I particularly enjoy the music, which is very reminiscent of the new Justice League theme. All up, Shadow Warrior 2 is nothing new. It's not surprising or revolutionary, but even considering the extreme language and immaturity, it's actually pretty good fun. The game is fast paced, smooth, and it's always satisfying getting a long range revolver critical. The completionist and looter in me occasionally got a bit overloaded with chasing down all the loot available, but I guess I can only blame myself for that. If you're after a simple, fun shooter with a surprising but not intimidating level of depth, I definitely recommend picking this up.
Shiheka may be a cold-blooded sociopathic mob boss, but she knows how to decorate.